Coming up next on the CHGO Cubs podcast, are the Cubs really in on Roki Sasaki? We're going to talk to Patrick Mooney from The Athletic. And is a silver slugger a requirement for a real baseball team? The CHGO Cubs podcast is straight fire. It starts right now. Hey, Chicago, what do you say? Coming at you live on a Sunnyside Thursday. This is the CHGO Cubs podcast. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter the promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 and older, or Illinois medical card holders. Hello, happy November 14th to all of you out there. This is the CHGO Cubs podcast. Luke Stuckmeyer, Ryan Herrera, Cody Del Mendo, still in Mexico.
Almost done with his Mexico vacation.
Wow, this is a vacation. Let me tell you, this guy with his vacations. We have a special show lined up for you today. Still waiting for the Cubs to make their first significant move of the offseason. And we have somebody who's been labeled by People Magazine as the sexiest man alive. He is.
Congratulations, Ryan.
Congratulations, Ryan. Patrick Mooney from the Northside Territory podcast on the Foul Territory Network, along with Sahadev Sharma. Just one of the best guys in the business.
Oh, yeah.
Patrick, first of all, thanks for coming on. We've missed you. It's great to have you here. We love your podcast. We're all podcasts getting along. We like to share the podcast circle, fame, spotlight with you guys. We like to call ourselves the biggest Cubs podcast in the universe, but we know you also make the same claim, and that's okay too. Because as I say, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
Yep.
Either way.
I think everyone's trying to talk about nothing, right? With this these Cubs off seasons kind of running together after a while, but I guess we can't shut it down before Thanksgiving, so we'll see what they have up their sleeves.
Yeah, we're the Seinfeld of sports right now, talking about nothing. I say it here all the time. I feel like the last 2 years at least are just one. You might have different managers, but it was all one season, all the same results. For me, it's almost 3 seasons have felt like one season. I do have a theory, and maybe you can help me out with this. I ask, is it getting too nice around Wrigley Field? You guys have a new press box up there. A lot of the crusty people like me aren't there every day. You don't have Bruce Miles in there every day poking questions. Mr. Gordon's gone. He was always poking the fire in the clubhouse. Who's there to really be the antagonist now in the club? Have you taken over that role? Because I know Ryan. Ryan's a gentleman.
Oh.
He's a quiet gentleman. You generally are a quiet gentleman. I'm looking for somebody to be the new Mr. Gordon.
Well, that's a lot to take in. I would say that I learned a ton from all those people you've mentioned. I was very fortunate to be around you, Luke, and a lot of people at the start of my career a very long time ago.
Yeah.
But I also think just the game has changed. The personalities have changed. I mean, Luke, I always laugh at the, like Marlon Bird's Did You Go? Or the Carlos Zambrano, We Stinks. Like that volatility, like just isn't really there anymore. And I don't know how much that's a reflection of the media as much as just like, Ryan, you've heard it. I mean, how many times of, talking about their process and how sound their process is. And hey, it's baseball and their results just weren't there, but over the long haul, it'll show up.
Do you think that's a change in player franchise personality, or is that a change in just the times? We're not 15 years ago. We're not 10 years ago. right? Lou Piniella's not yelling, "What am I, a dragon?"
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like the second Cubs game I ever covered when we were colleagues at CSN, and like Lou Piniella like called me sir, and then we left which was not a term of endearment,
Right.
and I probably told the story before, but like leaving his office in the old Turner Field, like you could hear him screaming through the walls, and Alfonso Soriano was just standing there with us, shaking his head and laughing, like it's the second game of the season. And we didn't see that at all the last several years with the Cubs. So I think it's personality cycling out, and just, there are a lot of good things that have happened in the game since then. But I do think that the volatility of personalities is certainly different from the top down.
Yeah, I think it kind of starts with like the face of the team at this point, which is Craig Counsell. And not that he's not like a personable guy, but he's not this super fiery manager. Mm-hmm. He's not a Lou Piniella or guys like that. But I will say, like, I think you would say the same, that he brings like a very transparent, straightforward, like no BS type of voice to the clubhouse, to these press conferences. So it is always interesting to see him talk twice a day whenever we're there. And I mean, you asked the question that the 90-win season quote that went viral towards the end of the season. Like, it was off your question, I think, asking like about the Brewers, and it like just turned into an answer that we didn't really expect to get, but it was a good show of like, yeah, he means business, and he's not here to beat around the bush. Like, that this is the goal he sees for the Cubs, and this is what he's going to say.
Yeah, I think, and you saw this, Ryan, he's very literal. Like, you have to be very specific with your questions, and the whole Brewer stuff, if I remember correctly, we were in Colorado at the end of that sort of brutal road trip to Dodger Stadium and Coors Field, and I think their playoff odds had dropped. I think Fangraphs actually might have put them at 0, even though they weren't mathematically eliminated. So I asked him a question along those lines of, if everyone says the process is so good and the attitude's so great, why are the results so kind of blah? And he's like, they're right. And then he just kind of didn't say it. And I tried to ask like 3 or 4 follow-ups, and he didn't want to go there until they were mathematically down to 0. Didn't feel like it was the right message to send to the group, which I understood. Like, I think he understands all of us have questions to ask. He does, I think, understand our jobs in a very granular way that is appreciated. But yeah, in terms of like the viralness or like having to record every single thing he says, like, not really. You can understand what he's thinking without him speaking in full paragraphs.
Right. You and Sahadev wrote a nice article about Roki Sasaki and how the Cubs have kind of laid a foundation for Japanese players. Jed has said that he would like to kind of be a landing place for these guys, a safe place for players from Japan when they say, where would I like to go? Where would I feel comfortable? Even if it's not warm here, maybe it's Chicago. How reasonable or realistic is it that he could end up on the Cubs?
Well, I think the best way
really
to
in the hunt. Are they really in the hunt? You know what I mean? Like, do you think they're a name that's actually legitimate?
They definitely have credibility in that space, and they have connections and relationships. I mean, this is something they've spent a lot of years working on, going all the way back to when Darvish first came over to the Texas Rangers. Jed's made multiple trips over there. He's seen Sasaki in person, I think as recently as maybe this past August, certainly this past season. They have people positioned there to kind of help them get in that conversation. And I just think there aren't that many places that Sasaki is going to realistically consider, right? Like, I don't think he's going to the White Sox. I think there are huge parts of the country that probably aren't all that appealing, or teams that just don't have the history there. Like the Phillies have an awesome environment now. You see it on TV, every October, but they don't. It's been a struggle for them to like kind of ramp up in that area to have credibility in that space. So I don't know. We tweeted out a story the other day, and I got the Dumb and Dumber, so you're saying there's a chance gif. But like, I don't know. I think it's reasonable to think that as this plays out, the Cubs would get a shot to be in the conversation. And the one thing I have learned a lot, especially with these players coming over from Japan, like a lot of it's like third-hand information from a different language, and it's hard to just like generalize. At one point in time, it was this idea that Japanese players kind of want to be the only Japanese player on the team, and then you have obviously what Yamamoto and Shohei did, and now the Cubs are selling themselves as Seiya and Shota and many more. So, but yeah, I mean, you guys can speak to this. Like, what would the reaction be if they actually landed it? It would totally change the perception of their organization right now, instantly.
Yeah, and I think like it wouldn't be like adding Yamamoto. I think what we hear out of Japan is that like Sasaki's not the polished pitcher that Yamamoto was coming over. Like, he has the talent, but still some work to do. So it's not like the Cubs are necessarily adding an ace on opening day to the rotation, but to get him and get a guy with that, like everyone talks about, could potentially be the best pitcher in the world at his peak. Like, yeah, I agree. Like that changes the perception of what the Cubs are doing. May not, like I said, it may not change much on opening day, and you have to kind of see the process through. But yeah, I would agree that landing Sasaki's huge.
He is. Patrick, I think you pointed out in the article when I was reading it, he's younger and he throws harder than Yamamoto. Like, there's definite upside. Like, he can hit almost 100, this guy, right? So if you're looking for a fit, like, what do the Cubs have a lot of? We've been saying, like, they need flamethrowers because they have a lot of pitch to contact guys. And more than anything, this franchise needs a superstar. Now, I'd prefer the superstar be an everyday player, but if you just watch the postseason, the teams are full of superstars. You're not, when you watch the Dodgers and Yankees playing the World Series, you're not like, what superstar am I looking for? It's like watching an all-star game. So the Cubs lack that. They have nice players, they have good players, but they don't have a single superstar player. Maybe Shota's close to that at some point. I don't know. But this guy would fit, as in he would be a different pitcher. He'd be young. How young? He's younger than a lot of their prospects even, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of in that same age range. I think he might, like, roughly, I think he's born a couple days before or after, like, Matt Shaw. I think he's slightly older than Cade Horton. Pete Crow-Armstrong might be a little younger or older, but he's certainly part of that cluster of, okay, if you're building it. And then you'd also have him on a minor league contract that would obviously convert to major league service time and the years of club control. That's like the dream for this front office and ownership group. Like, you saw when they had all those players packed on pre-arbitration salaries, things opened up differently for them. Now, obviously, Theo was running baseball operations at that time, but if you had a guy like that making, relative pennies, a fraction of his production, you can load up different areas of the roster. And also, I mean, pitching is their number one focus this offseason. I mean, they absolutely need a starter. And now this guy comes with some injury concerns as well. And, Ryan, we'd asked a lot of those questions towards the end of the year of, like, overhauling strength and conditioning and things like that. And, they had to shut down a lot of guys or couldn't count on a lot of guys as the season unfolded. But certainly it would just be an enormous shot of adrenaline for a team that, I don't know if you've seen this, Luke, over the years. It just doesn't have the same buzz anymore, like, period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's, by the way, that's a new thing the kids do. We add period at the end of it. We talk about Riz, and whenever I want to emphasize something, I say period. So see, that just shows Patrick Mooney is in with all the lingo. He knows everything.
Well, you should see how, like, young the beat has gotten. It's like he's just listening to us and taking
he's
it
practically Grandpa Patrick, they call him now. He's getting old enough. Hold on a second. I got to do my ad reads. We're talking to Patrick Mooney of Northside Territory and The Athletic. He's going to stick around for another 15 minutes. But first, I got to tell you about one of our great partners. Watching basketball live in person is just another different experience. Benny the Bull plays different when he's dumping the popcorn on your friend's head, or the Red Panda stacking all of those bowls on her unicycle, maybe in front of your kids, or the Bulls giving up dunks on their head. That brings out gasps in the crowd. That's different when you're there in person. The best news is Game Time has tickets for all the events. That includes concerts and shows, not just sports. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets, and they have all-in pricing. That's nice. No surprise fees at checkout. And the seat view, always helpful. Get a panoramic view from the seat in your app before you buy it. And then, of course, the low price guarantee. Game Time's going to credit you 110% of the difference. Great deals on Bears games, I would guess, coming forward here in the rest of the season. You want to see a Bears game? They might get a lot cheaper before it's all over. I noticed my Valpo basketball team's going to be playing at DePaul 11/29 at Wintrust Arena. I also looked up that you could get that ticket for $1. One single dollar.
That's the Harvard of the Midwest, right?
We are the Harvard. We're also the Duke of the Midwest. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem with the code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it?
Game time. Luke, let me tell you about Sunnyside. Our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your holiday season. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection, over 100 different strains to choose from with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. Stop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from quality lines like Cresco or Floracal. Available now is Good News' new limited-time offer, Island Vibes. I'm picking up Mindy Segal's award-winning chocolates at Sunnyside, and you can too by visiting sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
All right, we are talking to Patrick Mooney of The Athletic. Right before I rudely called him Grandpa Patrick because he's one of the oldest guys now in the on the Cubs beat. Got young bucks like Ryan nipping at his heels, nipping at his knees. We've been talking about the Cubs and how they are they realistically in on Roki. And Patrick mentioned, hey, starting pitcher is their big focus this offseason. And I personally don't think they can call this a successful offseason unless they do 2 things. One, add that significant starter to the rotation because they've got some holes, and you can't count on all the young guys who are injured right now. Like if you want to exceed projections late in the season, that's great, but you better not count on that early in the season if you're the Cubs and Jed Hoyer building the team. The second is a slugger, and I think the slugger is the harder route. Like if one of the two is going to happen, would you agree, Patrick, that the harder route for the Cubs improving one of those or 2 of those things, the harder one is to figure out how they're going to add a slugger to the team?
Yeah, I think their slugger strategy is crossing their fingers that Cody Bellinger and Seiya Suzuki play out of their minds for most of the next season. Like, I don't see kind of where they do that. Maybe they are far more creative and imaginative than I am, but they'll definitely add a catcher, hope for young guys to develop and certain guys to bounce back. Like, I don't see a realistic scenario in which they add some monster hitter to their rotation. I don't know how many guys like that are out there right now, and the guys that are either far beyond their price range or not really the profile that they like to invest in. So yeah, it's all about the pitching. Catching is sort of a pitching adjacent thing where they get a nice 2-way guy to kind of raise the floor overall. And then, their bullpen strategy of, trying the same thing, hoping for different results, of just kind of flooding the zone with lots of bounce back guys and TrackMan darlings, and maybe paying for a little more certainty of bringing some guys with, a guy or two with some legitimate experience at the back end of games.
Yeah. I've asked this question to a few people now that have joined us on the show, and I'm curious your thoughts on prior to Cody Bellinger opting back in, prior to the Juan Soto sweepstakes starting. Like, we were pretty much expecting the Cubs to not be in the Juan Soto sweepstakes based on price or whatever. And obviously now Cody Bellinger opting in would make that even more difficult. But I'm curious from your perspective, like, do you ever just sit there and say, like, not just Soto specifically, but just like, why aren't the Cubs in on these players? Like, do you ever just ponder that, like the Cubs have these resources, they have the third largest market, like, why don't they go after guys like Juan Soto or Corbin Burnes?
I don't know. That one feels like it's asked and answered. Like, that's just how they run the team. Like, there's pretty long track record here of how the Ricketts run the team, which has been, largely successful in terms of ending the curse, renovating Wrigley Field, but also thoroughly disappointing from a fan's perspective in recent years. And, Jed Hoyer is just a little more risk averse than Theo. And then he hires a guy from Cleveland and Carter Hawkins, who comes from a very good front office, but that does not really kind of go to the top of the market ever. And so you have a baseball organization that just, does not believe in 14-year contracts. I think this is both sides of the, Tom Ricketts' ownership of the team and his family of, it's probably a really good thing that he stays out of it, right? That he's not calling Scott Boras and making deals and like telling them who to hire or who to trade. But there are also times that Scott Boras would argue that owners have to be involved. And so I think they're kind of a very predictable operation, and, fans don't have to like it, but it is kind of interesting of just like leaving the GM meetings and having a very clear sense of they have no plans of pursuing Soto or Corbin Burnes. And, they are well positioned for any of these guys. There's always guys who are sort of disappointed or don't get exactly what they want right from the jump. And they're well positioned to swoop in for all sorts of different deals. But the Soto and Burnes in particular are not guys that their markets are going to crater, right? Like, they're going to get what they want. They'll have their pick of very good teams. And there's still ways for the Cubs to get better within that construct, but they just have to be right.
Yeah, I described it yesterday. The way they realistically are probably looking at this offseason is you're a mid team and you're going to be dabbling in the mid market. So I don't know what you can do the equation there and tell me where you think it's going to end up, but I'll tell you where I think it's going to end up. Mid. That's probably where it's going to end up again, unless somehow guys exceed projections again for what they're looking for. How about this, Patrick? Where do you think the biggest off-season move will come from? Obviously, last year it was the manager, but where's the biggest off-season move going to come from? Will it come from free agency, Sasaki, Fried, somebody else, or will it come from finally trading from the prospect pool to get a piece that they're missing?
Yeah, I would say all of the above. Like, they've given themselves options, and as disappointing as that may be to hear for Cubs fans, they are in a position where they can swing a blockbuster trade. They can sign a guy who you'd feel comfortable starting a playoff game as a pitcher. At this point in time, and Sasaki, until he signs elsewhere, I think the Cubs are going to exhaust every possibility, like every lever they have to pull in that. They're going to try, and since it does not come down to a Yamamoto contract, which to my understanding last year they kind of saw where Yamamoto was going and were like, thanks, like we're good. That's not Sasaki. They're really good at recruiting. They're really good at those presentations and kind of telling a story, and as they like to say, Wrigley Field sort of sells itself. So I don't know. I try not to go doom and gloom immediately. It does feel like we're kind of saying and writing a lot of the same things, but I think like the pitching stuff is pretty targeted, right? Like they know what they want. There's that cluster of pitchers. Max Fried makes a lot of sense, but if he's got a ton of interest, you could kind of see that creeping beyond what they're comfortable with. But right below that, there's a lot of really good pitchers who would instantly upgrade their rotation. And then the trade market is an interesting one as well. I know we're going to hear lots of speculation and rumors about Nico Horner, which personally I have a hard time seeing that one when you don't know what you're going to get until spring training. Cody Bellinger, same thing. I don't see the Cubs sort of like trading from a low value point, and how many teams are willing to like absorb a huge amount of that salary next year and be on the hook potentially for next year. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world that Bellinger's back. I think he fits this team really well and will probably play better next year. But really, this is on them to kind of find their way out of this and deliver, a more dynamic product kind of finally.
Yeah. Do you think the Cubs will make their first big major league move before the end of the new year? Or before the new year? Like, we waited for a while.
Before 2027? No, that was unfair.
I have a colleague who always jokes like, what inning is it? What inning of the off season are they on? Like that maybe that was at Cubs convention last year, but that one sort of went viral in a way that I did not expect people outside of Chicago. Like, hey, what inning is it? So this would still probably be the first inning. Except I'm not sure the Angels. It's still kind of the beginning. So I know I don't think they can afford to be that patient on the pitching market. Like, especially if Boris has these meetings lined up for Soto, it can kind of start clearing the deck. They have the money to kind of go after someone for the rotation. They have a bunch of like pretty compelling options as well. So I would certainly hope for all of our sanity that it's not like January 10th and we're like, the Cubs have not signed a major league free agent or made a major trade yet. So,
well, you would hope that the Bellinger coming back has kind of cleared up their picture a little bit, right? Like last year, we just waited to see what Bellinger was going to do, and we sat at the winter meetings and we
like
just
Ohtani held
twiddled
up
our thumbs, and Ohtani was holding the whole thing up. You would hope that this year goes faster than last year, and like you said, there's no reason for the Cubs not to if they want to. Patrick Mooney of The Athletic, first of all, been doing a great job. What was Lou's year? What was that? This is going to be year number what for you on the Cubs beat?
I started in 2010.
Wow. We go back. Moondog and I go back a ways.
Luke was very generous and gracious when I showed up as a snot-nosed kid who had like no idea what he was doing.
Sure.
I have a little bit of knowledge, but people treated me very well from the start. So I'm very grateful for that.
But that was a long time ago. I was handsome and had hair back then.
I think I was in 7th grade back then.
That was a long time ago. Patrick, thanks. Keep up the great work. Again, the name of the podcast is Northside Territory on the Foul Territory Network, correct?
Correct, yes.
And it's you and Sahadev.
Yes, basically, whatever we write on The Athletic, we talk about.
Yeah.
There you go, yeah.
You tell Sahadev.
Same as you guys, yeah.
You tell Sahadev we're going to talk bad about him until he joins us on this podcast. Until then, you're strictly our favorite.
I appreciate that, and thanks for having me on, guys. Love what you're doing, and hopefully we'll see each other in person soon enough here.
Sounds good. Thanks, Patrick. Appreciate it, and
thanks, Moons.
Happy holidays for Thanksgiving.
You too.
The great Patrick Mooney. Want to tell you about some of our great sponsors as well, because we've got a lot of people that we want to thank for what we do here at CHGO. Ryan, did you know that ComEd can help businesses save money by becoming more energy efficient?
You know, Luke, I feel like I heard that before, but I wasn't sure. I didn't know that ComEd actually did that.
Yep. The energy efficiency program can help find up to 35% in energy savings. Not 10, not 15, not 25, 35%.
Up to 35%, huh? So what does a business have to do to be able to get that?
All you got to do is sign up for that free facility assessment at ComEd.com/biz.
If it's that easy, and we could have done it right now, just this second.
Right.
Why aren't more businesses doing it?
I don't know. Listen, I don't know. I can only think that they're forgetting the name of the website.
Yeah, maybe that's the reason. ComEd.com/biz. ComEd.com/biz.
ComEd.com/biz.
There we go.
All right, that's enough. I think we've said it enough. ComEd.com/biz. Terms and conditions apply. Offers are subject to change. Actual savings will vary by customer's energy usage and rate. The ComEd Energy Efficiency Program is funded in compliance with state law. I feel like we need a car sound here. Thank you. That's it.
That works.
The Black Friday sales event is going on all month long at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. That means you can score huge Black Friday savings on your next vehicle the entire month of November. But don't let the deals pass you up. Stop in today to browse their huge inventory of new vehicles. And right now, shop savings like 0% financing available on all new 2024 Jeep models, or shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey with Ray's Price Promise. The numbers you're hearing right now in the CHGO Cubs podcast are the same numbers you're going to hear in store and online. That's because Ray's Price Promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. Now, since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories. Then drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect. So, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. They're the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake. For more information, visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or RayCDJR.com, serving the community since 1963.
I love the chat. Wow, the whole time, like, Mooney's talking to us, and I'm like trying to pay
They're all
attention to
Debbie
him.
Downers.
It's just like, I think was it Godfather that had the little chick emojis, was like cheap. I don't know if you could find
Patrick
that.
knows.
We'll see that, but
Well, Patrick knows. He's been around. He was,
that's what he said.
By the way, Joey's running the ones and twos for us today.
Yeah, I'm spinning some discs back here. A question about Patrick Mooney. You know him very well.
Mhm.
Was he ever Bob Dylan for Halloween? Did you ever try that?
He's got a little Bob Dylan.
You should
going.
try it.
You're right.
Yeah. Lower East
You
Side.
guys could trick or treat together, Ryan Dempster and Bob Dylan. That'd be a great combo.
I don't know if I see the Ryan Dempster.
You don't see
Do a
the Dempster.
tour.
How about I put a picture in Slack of
I
Joey
know.
once,
Mhm.
and it was spinning image.
I know.
A little bit.
I appreciate it. Starter Ryan Dempster, not closer Ryan
That's
Dempster
right.
would be
Yeah,
my
you're right.
preference. But
You're
yeah.
right. You're right.
Right. Early Ryan Dempster, full, thick head of hair, right? But sooner or later, we all,
Hey, we got a nice comment. Nino. Hey guys, love the show.
Nino.
Thank you. We
How
love you
about
too.
that?
We love you too.
That's funny. Mooney brought up that it was his day 2 was the dragon comment from Lupinella.
Jeez, yeah.
See, all that blends together for me. I can't remember what season was what, but that means he was there. I knew he was there for Lupinella because I can remember being with Patrick standing in a field at what was Ho-Ho-Cam at the time, and we waited till like 11 o'clock. Normally, Lupinella would talk at like, I don't know, 8 o'clock in the morning. We're sitting out there waiting, and when he came up, his hair was all disheveled, and he's like, wow, thanks for waiting for me. They had a killer margarita called the Prickly Pear last night. It really was a killer margarita. And we're like, oh my God, he really hit it. Lou hit it hard last night.
Yeah.
So
You don't get that too
No,
often in
those were
baseball
the-
these days.
those were the days. I don't buy that he is the instigator, the new Mr. Gordon.
No.
He
not
knows how to
necessarily,
ask
yeah.
a question that's going to get a good answer.
Yeah.
Mr. Gordon prods you with a steaming poker.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't, right?
It's not an apples to apples comparison, but
Yes.
he is the guy that will. He like if there's like a question to be asked, like
He'll ask. He's not afraid to ask.
he'll ask it. Yeah, and that's what we love about Mooney. I think we're all willing to do that, but Mooney's definitely willing to standing in the back of the press conference room and just all of a sudden you have Craig looking to the right side and Mooney's asking him something that, like I said, he's like that. We need to build 90 win teams.
That was
quote,
him.
at the end of the season. That was based off a Mooney question. And like I said, and I wrote about this like last week, it's not that Craig Counsell went in looking to like call out the front office and ownership.
Right.
And it's not even that like Mooney's question was seeking that response.
Right.
It was just kind of like a perfect storm of like, I think Mooney asked the question, if I remember correctly, it was about just like the Brewers had obviously won the division, the Cubs had been eliminated. Like,
yeah, there's a difference between asking a obvious heat-seeking question, like a heat-seeking missile, and asking it kind of with a stealth bomber where it could be answered either way. But if he wants to answer it that way, that's okay. And sometimes the manager will hear the question and it'll just, or whoever, player, strike a chord and they'll give you one of your better answers. And those don't come all the time, especially in today's philosophy of professional sports of say less, right? Like that's just the way the franchises would like it. And that's why player podcasts and different outlets sometimes lead to that stuff a little more often than not. I got a question. So I saw yesterday, and today, I think it was Joe from Obvious Shirt put out, that some people think Seiya was snubbed on the Silver Slugger, but the outfielders that got the Silver Slugger award did have pretty good seasons, right? Like, I don't know if he was snubbed because I've said multiple times I want slightly more out of Seiya. Now, the Silver Slugger thing has nothing to do with defense, so now you put him in there, and he is a good hitter. He is a good hitter. So my question was necessarily Seiya snubbed, because my answer to that is, no, I don't think so. My question is this. Is it a requirement as at least one Silver Slugger? Is that a requirement for a team that wants to be a winner?
I mean,
if anybody out there, and if you're in the live YouTube chat and you got time to research this, or if you're sitting at home and you want to hit it to us on Twitter, when's the last time like a championship team didn't have, or some team that made the World Series didn't have a Silver Slugger?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think that's not necessarily a requirement, but like it's absolutely going to help. It seems like you need it, right?
It's a pretty low floor.
Like, and I mean, obviously there's context to that, because you could have the second best DH in all of baseball. He's probably going to lose the Silver Slugger to Shohei Ohtani, right? So there's Seiya
will never win the Silver Slugger unless
DH,
Ohtani is injured.
Yeah, and I think Bellinger won it after 23 as a utility guy, because they started giving the utility award. But so you saw his peak of like he could be a Silver Slugger guy for this team, and obviously that there's hoping that he can get back to that level or more at that level this season than where he was in 2024. But yeah, I mean, Silver Slugger to me, whether award or not, is like you need really good hitters. You need really good, because like pitching is at a completely different level in baseball these days. Like you need really good hitters, and it's not necessarily hand in hand that the really good hitters also win the Silver Sluggers, but it happens more often than not.
Right.
So yeah, I wouldn't say you're wrong in saying that you do need Silver Sluggers. You need really good hitters to win baseball games.
Joey's got something.
Yeah, I just tried to look it up. I mean, I don't know when the last time it was, but the 2005 White Sox did not have a Silver Slugger in their lineup in 2005 when they won the World Series. So
Jermaine Dye's not going to get it.
Did not get it.
Frank
But in
Thomas
2005, Michael Barrett and Derek Lee were Silver Slugger award winners. So I don't know how recently that didn't happen, but there is a team out there. I just thought starting pitching, and I thought about them, and they did not win.
2016 Cubs Silver Sluggers?
My guess would be Chris Bryant. Let me pull it up.
You would think he was, right? I mean, he's the MVP. But I'm just asking, like, it seems like a very low ask of a team that wants to be serious. Even for a division champion, one Silver Slugger seems like a really low bar for asking out of your team. Now, I don't know who's the most likely on the team that's constructed. We talk about superstars. I don't think a Silver Slugger necessarily means the guy's a superstar, right? For me, superstars they're less than 10 in baseball, a superstar. But a Silver Slugger, you're only asking the guy to be the best hitter at his position in his league.
Yeah, 2016, really quick. Nolan Arenado won third base Silver Slugger, probably because Chris Bryant won the MVP. Anthony Rizzo won Silver Slugger at first base.
At first base.
Okay.
So they still had a Silver Slugger, and they had plenty of guys that were in that conversation for their position, right?
It's important. It's obviously important. Yeah, whether you win it or you're just at least a finalist, you're in the conversation. Like having guys that you look at as at his position, he's among the best hitters in the National League or in in Major League Baseball. Like, yeah, it's absolutely important.
I mean, they had two of the best ERA pitchers, right? And they had the MVP of the league and a Silver Slugger. You start adding it together, and
I know Hayward won Gold Glove. Did anyone else win it?
They had the best.
And Jake Arrieta won Silver Slugger as a pitcher because the team had no DH.
They had lots of things that add up. That's why I say one Silver Slugger on a team seems like a low ask. So who's most likely to be the Cubs' next Silver Slugger? Because I personally believe if you don't have a Silver Slugger, what do we even? Then you might as well just say 83 wins every year. You might as well just put an M on the helmet, batting helmet for mid. Like who would it be? A Silver Slugger. Ian Happ, is he ever going to hit enough in the outfield? Yeah. You know, he just won another Gold Glove. But is Happ a good enough hitter to be one of the best hitting outfielders in the National League?
Probably not.
Probably not.
He's a good hitter. Like anyone that like tries to take that away from him is just wrong. Like he's a good hitter, and
I'm not saying he's not.
Right?
Yeah,
but
I don't know that PCA is going to be a
Silver Slugger.
Slugger.
Yeah, I mean
if Seiya goes to DH, now your shot is Bellinger, right? Maybe.
Well, I mean, you think about it. Like even this year, Seiya was your best hitter. He wasn't a Silver Slugger in the outfield, right? When you compare it with Happ, like Happ's a really good hitter. I don't think he's a Silver Slugger. Seiya was a better hitter than Happ was this year, and he didn't win the Silver Slugger either. So in the outfield, and maybe the fact that he didn't really play in the outfield the last 6 weeks or so of the season hurt his chances for that. But he was still there and didn't win the Silver Slugger. But
currently constructed, if you go around the rest of the team, I guess Paredes could have some breakout season and he'd be in a conversation for it. But you don't ever expect Dansby to be in the Silver Slugger conversation. He's defense first, and he's a nice hitter, but he's not a best he's not the best hitting shortstop in the National League, and I don't expect him to be that. I don't expect Nico to be the best hitting second baseman. In the chat, some people are saying
you're the Silver Slugger of CHGO.
Well, Edward, I appreciate that. That's because of the silver hair that's starting to come in a little bit on the sides. I don't know that Michael Busch is going to be good enough at first base
as a
to
hitter,
be a Silver Slugger. Someone in the chat said Matt Shaw, Brady says it, is the best shot because the position lacks talent and power.
Is it Matt Shaw at second base, a guy that's never played a game at the major league level?
Wow, that's what I'm saying.
Is it
you want to talk about exceeding projections? Now you're
or is it Cody Bellinger? Or is it Cody Bellinger and in the outfield performing more like he did in 2023? Like I said, like
best,
or is a utility guy, whatever that looks like, right?
If you had to wager right now online for next Cubs Silver Slugger, where would you put that money? I don't even know if I'd make the bet in 2025. That's how I would feel. Like I don't know if the juice would be worth the squeeze to make that wager in 2025. Now, again, the roster's not set. But as Patrick Mooney just told us, the most likely thing for them to add this off, the biggest thing that they'll probably add this offseason will be a pitcher, not the slugger we all seek.
Yeah.
The slugger we all seek may have to come from within or somebody exceeding projections, or a rookie comes up and has a great. Now, that's a lot of hope and a lot of what ifs. I would agree with you. I think it might. If I had to place one on 2025 right now, I would say Bellinger.
Yeah, I think that
because I think he'll play right field.
He's likely going to play most of right field, which means that Seiya's. And this is also assuming health, obviously, right? It's like everyone stays healthy. Mm-hmm. That doesn't happen, but assuming that, you're probably looking at Seiya playing majority of the DH time or hitting a majority of in the DH spot for you,
and no shot against Ohtani.
Yeah, that's gonna be very difficult for him to beat someone like Ohtani for that. So you look around the field, and Like we saw Cody Bellinger do it. Can he do it again? Can he get back to that level? And that's, he wasn't there last year. So it's going to be tough, but he's the guy I look at as if you want the Cubs to have a silver slugger in 2025 with the guys that are on this roster right now, yeah, Cody Bellinger is probably the best bet because he has done it before. He has that kind of upside.
Even if you thought Miguel Amaya was the prospect you thought when he was the Cubs' top prospect at the time, right?
Yeah, a few years ago.
Even if he was developing into that player, which right now we're not totally sure where he's going to go. Like, which part of last season do you believe in the most? He's not competing with Contreras in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I don't.
Yeah. No, that's tough. Yeah, and I think I'm not saying Brady's wrong in saying that Matt Shaw.
No, I think he could be on the list
because he does have some power potential. He is going to a position that just historically is just on the just not
if that's
side.
Where he goes.
If that's where he goes,
we don't even know that's where he's going to go right now. For Team USA, he's playing third base, and of course, we don't know. Like Patrick Mooney said, we don't really know what's going to happen with Nico. It seems unlikely you're going to trade from a not peak value for him. Right? When he's injured, why would you trade a guy that you're not going to get peak return?
Yeah.
This doesn't seem like a great time to do it.
Our Robert Blanco pointed out that there's no silver slugger on the 2011 St. Louis Cardinals.
Boy, I mean, you're going to have to tell me the roster first. Okay, 2000.
That's the David.
Is that the 83 win? Is that the 83 one? The famous one?
That's the World Series team.
Yeah.
David Freese.
But that's a you're going back a long way.
I'm trying to. 2021 was the Braves, and they had 4 silver sluggers. So that it doesn't.
I don't know. I can't even think of the roster on 2011. Is Pujols still there?
Pujols is still there. Yeah, right. Pujols didn't go to the Angels till 2012.
Still there.
Pujols, Molina, Wainwright.
Yadi Molina wasn't a silver slugger.
I don't know. He was probably a Gold Glover.
I believe him if he's looked it up. 2011. But even let's say it is the Cardinals. You've just gone back a long way. That's what I'm saying. It's a low bar for a team that wants to be considered serious. And right now, I can't name the next one in a Cubs uniform.
And be confident in that pick. Yeah.
No, if I was I wouldn't feel betting $100 on anybody on the Cubs roster being a silver slugger next year. Would you?
No. Sorry, I got confused that Brady put some names in there. I forgot about Holiday, Berkman, and Terrio.
Oh, yeah.
John Jay, Daniel Descalso on that
No
team.
silver sluggers out of Pujols, Holiday, Berkman?
I guess not. I'm looking
Corey
at it right
Patterson
now.
played a minute.
2011, Prince Fielder won the silver slugger at first base. And your outfielders were Ryan Braun, Matt Kemp, and was that Justin Upton that was in Arizona?
Yeah, okay.
One of the Uptons.
Yeah.
So,
all right. 2011 Cardinals. So, and you said the White Sox, too. You know what those two teams were? Lucky. Those are two teams that won the World Series that if you had to put them together and say, what do these two teams they have in common? They were both really lucky to win the World Series. Like the White Sox caught lightning in a bottle, and clearly the Cardinals did that year as well.
Yeah.
So again, it's an outlier. It's an outlier to have a team that wins and doesn't have a silver slugger. I never really thought about it because I don't think it's a very high bar. Sometimes you got guys, multiple silver sluggers on a team. Barry Foote, what are they talking about?
Brady points out that Pujols, Yadi, and Berkman did pretty well in MVP voting, though.
Yes. Well, that's like the Cubs. Okay, Chris Bryant
sluggers.
wasn't a silver slugger, but he was the MVP of the league.
How about instead of just silver sluggers, how about just all-stars? Like the Cubs had three all-stars.
Well, it was the next year after they won the World Series. It was 2017 was they had the entire infield, right? Was that 2017?
Yeah,
it was all Cubs?
Years. Yeah, it was one of those years. I mean, I guess 2008 isn't the best example because they didn't win the World Series that year, but they had like 8 all-stars, didn't they, the Cubs? I think they had like 5 starters.
Yeah.
I mean, 08, you had Ted Lilly in there. You had Mark DeRosa had a career year. There was a lot of guys on that team. That was honestly a fun team. I mean, if we're going to get nostalgic, I know they didn't do it, but that was a great regular season team.
How many silver sluggers did Big Z win? Carlos Zambrano back in the day. Like, again,
that's a good question.
That's not the place where I necessarily wanted to have my silver slugger back in the day. And it's not it's not valid today because of the DH.
You got 3 with the Cubs.
Yeah, so I mean
06, 08, and 09.
But they also had guys that were I would like to do this podcast coming up here in the next couple of weeks. I don't know how. Let me know how you feel about it in the chat. Let me know what you think, Ryan and Joey. I would like to go through each position in baseball. I'm not giving grades. We're not doing the report card thing. I just want to go left field, center field, right field, third, short, second. Pick maybe 2 positions a podcast. Okay? And then I want to go, all right, let's go through baseball and find out where we think the Cubs rank at that position. It could be a good exercise, right?
Like in the National League and the division and majors.
All of it. You can just do division, but I would say just in the majors. If you want to take every team and say, where do the Cubs rank at that position? That's the problem. I think if we do that exercise, we'll get to the end of it, and I think we'll say, this is an example of why the Cubs are at 83.
Yeah.
83 is nice. It's not good enough. It's not the playoffs in most years. It's just not good enough. I don't think they have, without looking, I bet you they don't have a top 5 anywhere. Do they have a top 10 at any position? Which now when you start to get down in the numbers, are you going to say, well, they're going to be below average at some positions. Based on our grades, I'm going to guess they might be average at some, but I don't think they're going to be in that elite window. If you don't have a top 5 at that position in baseball, what are you doing? Like that's the jump. That's like talking about going from, hey, this prospect did great at AA and AAA. This Matt Mervis is killing the ball at AAA. We got to see Mervis. We got to get Mervis. And then he gets to the big leagues. That jump is so significant. Yeah. And I believe it is in baseball too. You can't go from looking at a roster and going around it saying, these guys are nice, but we don't have elite anywhere. Yeah. Now, maybe the pitching staff would.
Yeah, I think you can make that argument. I mean,
if you want to go rotation, that might be where they do it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go DH, maybe you can say I would have an argument because
if he's the DH,
yeah, if he's the DH, maybe he has an argument. And he was like I don't remember exactly where
BABIP
he plays,
or
but
what they call it. What did I just see the stat?
He had a pretty high BABIP. I forgot what exactly it was, but BABIP was relatively high. But when you're hitting a lot of line drives, like that's not super surprising. I would he was a top 20. I forgot where he placed in the top 20, but a top 20 WRC plus guy, I believe, in baseball this year. So maybe you have an argument with Seiya, but when you're saying you have an argument to be a top 5 versus this guy is a top 5 guy, that's a pretty big gap. Yeah.
Right. I mean, for right now, you're going to know Aaron Judge is going to be tough to beat in center field, and where there are some great center field. Where do you go
in right field? Probably
whoever you want to put on there. I would like to do that. Just pick a week and be let's go through it and say where do the Cubs rank at position X?
I feel pretty confident Ian Happ is a top 10 left fielder in the National League.
Oh, yeah.
I would say he's probably
top
10 in the majors, right?
Right? Okay. I would probably put him
just
top 10 left fielder in Major League Baseball.
But we're also looking at it top 10 versus top 5. There does feel like a jump there.
There's a huge
100%.
jump. Brady agrees with me, so now I like Brady a lot more.
I would have to go look at the left fielders. I don't know if that's 100% accurate. I just kind of.
No, I'm going off the top of my head. I said I would like to think. I did not say that I declare.
Okay, fair enough.
I think their best shot is if you want to say where do they rank in rotation, especially if they're able to upgrade this offseason, right? Do you want to take top 3 starters and start comparing ERAs to other teams? Maybe. Brady points out Luke is correct, which I'll always read that comment. The value difference between 1 and 5 is significantly bigger than 5 through 10 or 10 through 15. And I think the Cubs will have a lot of guys in the 5 through 10, 10 through 15 range.
But do they have anyone in the 1 through 5?
But we're not playing hand grenades. Close isn't, you've got to have guys. You have to have multiple guys peaking at least in the top 10. Otherwise, you're looking at average.
By the way, I wanted to correct myself. Mooney's question was not the one that got the 90 win. We need to build
Wait a
90
minute,
win.
wasn't who?
No. He
Wait, who was the credit?
I don't know.
We
who
should
it
call
is.
Mooney back. He took credit for that crap.
Well, I gave
I'm
him
kidding.
the credit.
You did give him credit, but he was very open to the fact that it could have been his question.
His question did have like did get the there's a big gap quote, which is another one we threw out there on a quote graphic. And again, that wasn't a question that was like eliciting a fiery response. It just kind of got a really good quote out of it. I don't know who did the 90 win team. I don't know who that was. I can't remember. It may have been Bruce. May have been. No, it wasn't.
Maybe it was Sahadev.
Could have been.
De La Cruz is saying Bush. I believe that's for you're talking about who will be the next Silver Slugger. Maybe. And Roberto Blanco says, I Googled worst offense to win a World Series, and it spit out the 03 Marlins. They had 7 MVP finalists. I mean, they had some pretty good hitters on that team. And by the way, if you remember the 03 Marlins, they had great starting pitching.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying the Cubs couldn't have really, if you want to dream big and hope they get Roki, which I'm now started. I used to think that Corbin Burns was the best that they could do in getting something this offseason. I've now floated out that, okay, Soto's out of the market. Burns is going to be out of the market. They're not, unless Bob Nightingale's the one that's right. Burns is out of the market.
Sure.
Patrick wasn't so sure that Fried might not fall out of the market because he's going to be very attractive to a lot of teams for good reason.
Yeah.
Is Roki the Cubs' best shot at doing something significant?
Well,
this offseason.
I will say,
I don't know.
I will say, if we're talking about for next season, I don't know. Just based on what I read, what we've read, what we've heard, you don't know if Sasaki's the guy that would like help them the most next season because he's coming over as a young guy, not necessarily the most polished pitcher, all that kind of stuff. Maybe he is, but I don't know if we certainly expect that. Obviously, if you're adding Corbin Burns to your team, you're adding an ace for 2025. Sure. Sasaki may not necessarily be on that level. So if you're only looking at it as a 2025 perspective, you're probably your biggest swing would be for Corbin Burns, but maybe Sasaki gets there at some point during the year and you have team control for 6 years of a guy who's pitching like an ace. Maybe you do. So
throws 100.
So I think it depends how you look at it and what you want.
I think it's interesting if that's the route they go. I mean, it was pretty obvious the way the team was looking, and it was supposed to be all hitters in 2016, and then it kind of at some point shifted to pitching and defense, but they haven't really developed the starting pitching that they would have liked to have, like we thought was coming. So now are they going to find those in other avenues? One of the options has been, because now we've seen Shota, maybe it's getting players from Japan. Maybe that's where the Cubs are going to find 3 of their really good to very good, hopefully great players. I don't know what the answer is. I just know they have to do it. And I still think that you can say, go ahead and great. It'd be wonderful to get that frontline pitcher. And now you have 4 starting pitchers that you really can count on. They still need a slugger. And Patrick Mooney told us today that's probably counting on Bellinger to have a breakout or say to finally hit 35.
Can they end the CHGO playoff drought? And I guess
we don't have a playoff drought. All we do is win championships around here. We're the most successful. CHGO softball team's the most successful team in town.
I know the Stars. I guess they're the Stars now, not the Red Stars. The Stars made the playoffs. Is that right? The Stars.
The Stars. All those teams are bad right now.
Obviously,
Sky struggle. They got a new coach.
Yeah, but maybe the Cubs can end the CHGO Cubs playoff drought next year.
That would be nice.
We'll see.
Cody is back, I believe, starting on Monday. I think
he may just extend his Mexican vacation.
He may, or he just might just keep eating that Japanese food until we get Roki. Claims he's going to eat it every day.
Yeah,
which it is good food. So that's going to do it for the TV side today. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. Want to tell you about a great offer we have. What is it? It's called the Die Hard program. Can't talk about CHGO without mentioning the Die Hard program. It's like talking about a championship team without a silver slugger. You got to have the Die Hard card. It's our credibility card, as we like to say it. Does it work as an actual credit card? No, it does not. Does it have an annual fee? No, not necessarily, because the Die Hard membership comes with many, many perks. First of all, access to Ryan's great content and all our other writers, Adam Hogue, everybody. Come, you get your newsletter. What day is the newsletter again?
Fridays. So tomorrow.
Oh, you better get that ready. You got something? Can you tease it?
I got something
for the diehards? You just got something cooking on the stove.
Maybe a little Roki talk.
Little Roki talk.
Little written Roki talk.
All right, so it comes with access. It gets you his newsletter every week. It gets you 20% off all of our dope merch. We got some great merch out there right now. We get you access to a discount on some of our takeovers. Like, for instance, our tailgates, discount, 20% off there. And again, there's nothing better to give someone in your family or a friend. There's no better way to say I love you than to hand them the Die Hard card for the holiday season. It's the gift that keeps on giving the whole year round. Thanks for checking out the CHGO Cubs podcast. We're back with Cody on Monday. Brendan and Corey will be here tomorrow. Until then, thanks for watching, and fly the W.
We all silly like the mayor.